Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the How to Move to Los Cabos video series. The online series where I get to teach you everything you need to know about how to make a successful and easy move down to our beautiful Los Cabos, Mexico. On this episode, I am going to be giving you guys some essential tips about how to live down here in Los Cabos. We're going to be touching on topics such as hurricane season, water supply, electricity, dirt roads, and just overall a couple of tips that I have learned from being born and raised down here. There's definitely a couple of things that you learn on the way. For you guys that don't know me, my name is Ari Westwood. I was born and raised down here in Los Cabos. I am a Mexican-American real estate agent and the manager of the Baja Properties Cabo San Lucas office. Now, Baja Properties was the first real estate company down here in Los Cabos, so you can rest assured that all of this information is going to be extremely beneficial for you on your move down here to our beautiful Los Cabos, Mexico. This video is not a standalone video. There will be more on this series, so don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell below so you can stay up to date on all of the upcoming videos. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the tips about how to live down here in Los Cabos, starting off with hurricane season in Cabo. If you don't know by now, Los Cabos is in a hurricane zone, so we do have the possibility of getting some storms and getting some hurricanes every year. But this is not something to be very scared about. This is just something to be very aware about. I was born and raised down here, and I can tell you that we've really only had a couple of major storms that have really caused some harm down here. Most years you really have basically just a couple of weeks of rain. We don't really get that much rain. But it's a beautiful place to live, and as long as you're able to have your precautions, you're gonna be perfectly fine. Now, your first thing you wanna know is hurricane season. Hurricane season usually runs from June to November. So usually during this period of time, you're going to be wanting to be in check of possible storms showing up. There's a couple of really good websites that you can go online and always be checking if there's going to be a storm that is possibly going to hit Cabo. But I assure you, if you have a place down here, if you have friends in Los Cabos, you will know because we all like to talk about it. As soon as there's a storm rolling up, everybody gets kind of excited because it's time to enjoy some rain that is going to be coming over, and everybody starts preparing for the storm. So you just want to be prepared again. That is the main thing. And usually with hurricanes, instead of worrying so much about water, you really want to worry more about wind. You want to protect yourself from possible really strong winds that might hurt your windows or anything that might get slammed against your windows. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is going to be that you want to have some good protections for your windows. Usually, if you're going to be getting a really nice place, it's very likely that these already come with hurricane graded windows. But either way, you might want to invest into some hurricane shutters. There's plenty of companies down here in Los Cabos that range from low budget to really high-end stuff. And you can definitely start just looking around Cabo and see which one's going to be a better fit for you. Because really, what you want to do during a hurricane, as soon as it rolls around, you want to be able to know that your shutters are in your house. You see that storm coming in with some rain. It gets really beautiful when it rains down here. You just want to be able to have that cup of coffee and enjoy watching the rain from your living room without worrying about your windows. So the first thing is always going to be, make sure that your windows are well protected. The second thing that you want to do during hurricanes is to make sure that you're prepped with your car. If you have a vehicle, make sure to have a full tank of gas in that car. Usually, if you don't prepare and you go last minute to fill up your car, you can expect to have some long lines at that gas station because everybody wants to have a car with gas in case anything goes wrong. And the other thing is that if we do get a strong hurricane, we might not have gas for a couple of days, gas supply on the fuel stations. So again, make sure to fill up your gas tank before a hurricane, before a strong storm. And if you want to be extra cautious, go ahead and fill up a couple jerry cans. Fill up a couple extra tanks of gas and have it right there in your garage. It's never a bad thing to have in case anything happens. Now, the next thing that you want to know during hurricanes is going to be power outages. During storms, during strong hurricanes, the power will most likely get cut off for security. This is not because the main plant has gone off. This is usually just because there's tension in those lines. And if there's enough wind, it could potentially hit a palm tree. It could potentially fall down and hurt somebody. So for security, most of the time, the power will be cut off during storms. And usually the storms are during the summer. Most people don't talk about how hot it can get during the hurricane season. So usually what you want to have at your house is going to be something like a power generator, just a normal diesel generator, gas generator. Or nowadays, what's becoming really popular are the solar generators, which are basically just very big batteries that you can have in your house. You'll be able to plug in certain things such as your fridge, so your food doesn't go bad, so the ice stays nice and cold. You can plug in a couple of fans so you can have some ventilation going on in your actual place. If you're staying in a high-end place, a nice house in the Pedregal, a nice house in any of the luxury developments, I'm sure you will have a really nice generator and the whole house will just be running exactly the same as if you had power. So in those cases, you don't even have to worry about that. It's just about, again, being prepared. Have some fuel for your generator. Make sure to have a power supply in case anything happens. Now, the last thing I'm going to mention about hurricanes is going to be water. One thing that is very important to have under consideration is that down here in Los Cabos, Mexico, and in Mexico overall, water pressure does not come from the municipality. Usually the water gets pumped to your cistern, it gets pumped to your water storage, and from there you have your own water pump that takes it up to your house and you can open up your tap water and the water flows, or your shower, whatever it is. When there's no power, that water pump might have some pressure left, but as soon as that thing is gone, you won't have any water on your running water. So for this, you will want to have a couple of water jugs. Down here, we call them garrafones. They're just those big water jugs that you can buy over there at the store. And either way, you want to have these down here during these times because, well, it's drinkable water. If anything goes wrong, you have some water right there in those jugs. They're extremely super cheap, so you really can't even worry about having a couple of these things, 6, 8, whatever you want to have, just for whatever reason. Have some water at your house. It's all about being prepared rather than being scared, because storms can actually be very pretty as long as you have nothing to worry about. Now, let's move on to the second topic about essential tips down here in Los Cabos. The second one is going to be about water supply in Los Cabos. One thing to mention is that you need to be cautious that Los Cabos is a desert. I know that you fly down here and you see all these luscious golf courses and plenty of green areas, beautiful green areas, and it's hard to forget that we're actually in a desert. Water is limited and we need to be taking care of it. Now, what I mean by this is also not to be scared. It just means that you need to keep this in mind. Pretty much every hotel in front of the ocean, by law, is required to have a mandatory desalination plant for all of their guests. So they're really not affecting our main water supply, and that's why usually you will see some of these hotels with tons of really green, luscious areas. But if you're looking for a property, make sure to always check out the water storage before acquiring that property. You want to have at least a 5,000 liter cistern. A 10,000 liter is better, 15,000 is even better, and further up, well, you're never going to really have to worry about water. The main thing to keep in mind is that we do get water from the water line. The thing most of the time is going to be how often. So whenever the water goes in, that cistern will get filled up, but sometimes it takes a week, 2 weeks for the water to roll around. So during the summers, for example, you might have to get used, if you have a smaller cistern, to calling a water truck. This is not something that anybody in Los Cabos is unaware of. We are all used to, if it's summertime and water runs out or it starts getting low, you can call up a water truck, they'll come over, fill up that cistern. It's not expensive, it is not hard to do. It is just one of the things that you need to know about living down in our beautiful Los Cabos. Again, Los Cabos is a relatively newer location to be living in. It's incredible how much stuff we've gotten done over the last 60 years, but this is one of the things that you need to keep into consideration. Another thing about water is that water from the tap is not drinkable down here. Don't tempt yourself. This is not something that I'm saying as a local, like, oh yeah, I can drink water from the tap. Just don't risk it. If you're down here, get some bottled water if it's your first time down here. And the other thing that is very, very popular, the thing that I have at my house, is that you can buy aftermarket water filtration systems for your home. These things are not expensive unless you go super, super high end. And that will make pretty much all of the water in your house, or at least a part. If you want to have it in your kitchen sink, just put it under the sink and you will be able to open up that tap and be able to drink water just like you can do it up in the United States. It's tap water that has been purified with your water filtration system. Again, these are not expensive. You can actually probably install it on your own right there at your house. But again, plumbers and electricians, all that kind of stuff can be very accessible now here in Cabo. So that's the other thing about water. Now let's talk about electricity in Cabo. Electricity in Cabo is actually pretty cool. There's most of the time you're going to be able to realize that most of the utilities in Cabo are going to be more affordable than they're going to be up in the United States and Canada. And one thing that I do need to mention though is that even though pretty much all of the year electricity is very reliable, you can always count that it's there. During the summertime, when it gets hot, everybody has their ACs on, everybody has the air conditioning going on at the max because they don't want to be out in the heat. Sometimes the grid gets overpowered and we have some brownouts. So during the summertime, sometimes you will lose power for an hour, 2 hours, a couple of hours during the very hot days. So again, this is another good reason to always be prepared with a generator or a solar generator, just a big battery. So you can always plug in things such as your fridge, or maybe keep a fan going. If you have a big enough generator, you can just keep the whole house going with your air conditioning and you won't have any issues. So again, this is just another thing to be prepared about when you're down here during the summertime. Electricity is pretty much always reliable, but during this time we can start having some brownouts where it goes out a couple of hours during the day. Another topic down here is going to be dirt roads. Now we all like dirt roads down here in Cabo when we've got a really nice 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle. This can be synonymous with adventure for us, going up on the mountains, going out on the beach, enjoying dirt roads. It's one of the things that has appealed a lot of us to be down here in Cabo. But this is something to be under consideration when you have things such as a small vehicle and when you have to consider for rainy season. Now, as I mentioned, Los Cabos has been developing pretty fast, but there's still plenty of residential areas where dirt roads are still the way that everything works. You might have some incredible multi-million-dollar homes out here that still have a dirt road to get to it. This is not something extremely uncommon. It's just the beautiful way of the adventure life down here in Los Cabos. So make sure that when you're looking at some of these properties, you look at it and think about, oh man, when it rains, is this road going to get destroyed? In most cases, if you have a big truck, if you're the kind of guy that says, well, I don't really mind because I've got a big Ford Raptor and I can just go through it. I have a really nice Jeep. I don't mind how that road ends up. Then go ahead. There's no issue with that. But if you have a smaller vehicle and you're looking at this dirt road and you're thinking this is going to be an incredible $350,000 condo for me, and you have a small vehicle, after the rain comes, you might be a little upset that nobody mentioned that that dirt road might get washed away. Usually it's going to take at least a few days for somebody to come over there with a caterpillar, with something to fix that road. So it might be a little ugly for a little while. So dirt roads are another thing to keep into consideration. They're always fun whenever you're looking for them, but they might not be as fun when they're during your daily commute. So those are going to be your essential tips for today. We touched on topics such as hurricane season in Cabo, the pros of having your stuff prepared during hurricane season. We mentioned that hurricane season is from June to November. During these times, you want to watch out for hurricanes and just be prepared in case anything happens. We talked about the water supply in Los Cabos. We talked about how you want to be prepared with a big enough cistern. You might need to be calling a water truck every once in a while if your cistern is not big enough. And we mentioned the fact that you cannot drink tap water. The next thing we talked about was electricity in Cabo and how it's pretty much reliable all year round. But during the summertime, we might get a couple of brownouts because the main grid is being overused with air conditioning. So having a generator is always a nice thing to have. And the last thing we talked about was dirt roads down here in our beautiful Los Cabos. Just make sure that when you're planning to look at that property and you see a dirt road that leads you to that property, that's something that you have under consideration. These things are supposed to be fun. They're not supposed to be surprises. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I try to keep it short and sweet. I think there are some good tips from a person that's had to go through some issues with some of these things before, but now I really don't mind them at all. It's part of the charm of being down here. And I hope you really enjoyed this video. There's going to be other ones like it coming up. So don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe and notification bell below so you can stay up to date on any of the upcoming videos that we have that we're going to be making for you guys. And of course, if you have any questions for me, if you have any videos that you want me to make, go ahead and comment down below. I will get to them. I want to be making these videos for you guys. And if you have any questions for me on particular things, you can also go ahead and message me. My information is down on the description below. And of course, for those people that are ready to make the next step, the beginning of their journey down here to Los Cabos and start telling everybody that Los Cabos is a significantly bigger part of your life, go ahead and message me. I'm sure I can start heading you towards the right direction. I can send you some links to start looking at some properties. And of course, I'm really excited for the day when you're finally down here and I'm giving you the keys to that beautiful home or condo in Los Cabos that you really, really want. I hope you have a fantastic day and I look forward to our next episode together.